The year's 2009. Probably. 2008 maybe? Okay. I don't know the year, but what I do know is we're in a Hong Kongese, yes that is a word, hotel room. And our boy Russ has just invited a couple of his investor friends over to check out his new project. Now, to tell you a little bit about our boy Russ, he's been doing the toy industry stuff for a long time, and he's built himself up a pretty strong reputation. He just recently sold his company Trendmaster in around the 90s, and he's ready to start his new project, Cepia. Cepia's been going for a bit now, had some hits and misses, but he's ready for his next big thing. And that's when he reveals it. It's something he entitles the Go-Go Pet. It's a little robot hamster with wheels housed at the bottom, and what it can do is not much. It moves around autonomously, and that's pretty much it. He feels pretty confident about the product, but everyone else there, they're thinking he lost it. Upon all the investors leaving, Russ catches a flight back to St. Louis, Missouri, where him and the team continue to conjure up ways to get this thing off the ground. They know they have something special here, just nobody is seeing it. So they make phone call after phone call after phone call after presentation, but nothing is coming through. And just when they thought nobody was going to be interested in this thing, the phone rings. So, you've just signed a deal with two of the biggest distributors that, for $1.8 million collectively, will get your stock into store shelves around the country. 1.8 may sound like a lot of money, because it is, but the expenses of running a business and having a whole team on the payroll, expenses add up quickly to where Russ is putting a second mortgage on his family's home. They get their stock on the store shelves, and it's silent. But it only takes a few days to see 2 to 3 units sell out of each store per day, which, considering the lack of promotion at this time, is pretty good. But a couple more days go by and they begin to sell more, and by the time they've reached the end of the week, more and more stores have completely sold out of their supply. Taken aback by the response, the team are quickly given a new contract, securing $8 million to turn Zhu Zhu Pets from a flash-in-the-pan toy to an enterprise. The team, with their newly found success, invests a shit ton of money into PR, not only taking up commercial slots on TV, but also investing their money anywhere from sponsoring blogs to events at zoos, even using social media, which, mind you, it's 2009, so using social media in that sense is way less common than it is now. Additionally, they just had that parental appeal to them. After all, this hunk of metal is a whole lot easier than taking care of an actual hamster, and arguably way less annoying than the real thing. By this time, it's about Christmas of 2009, which, if you live in North America and you've gone to a store around Christmas, you know what the fuck happens. That shit changes a person. For Zhu Zhu Pets, though, it generated a lot of money. Not to be surprised, though, Zhu Zhu Pets had already been labeled Toy of the Century across the board, which, above all else, gives you a lot of attention that you didn't have to pay for. Zhu Zhu Pets found itself on the shelves on more than 60 countries, being the top seller in nearly all of them. It successfully became a worldwide phenomenon while still having that small staff I mentioned earlier. Let's fast forward ourselves a year, and the need for something new is rising. People are going to get tired of what we have, and we need to come up with something different. Hey, have you tried making it pink? Try making it the color pink. And that's exactly what they did. Taking what they already had and putting it into new themes that ranged from
nice approach
to what the fuck? What is up with it? Why does it look like that? Why does it look? Arguably the most important one to this whole expansion, though, was Kung Zoo, which featured hamsters beating the shit out of each other. What more could you ask for? But really, the next big step was to take all of these and transfer them into the gaming market. First, experimenting with flash games on their own website, where you could get a membership and play games. Is this sounding familiar? Still up to date, by the way, but it's all flash games. So you can look at them. They later partner up with Black Lantern Studios, a game development company world-renowned for their real bangers of games. And they not only promise to make the games for them, but also port them to DS or Wii or anything that's going to make money. It's kind of ingenious when you think about it. The game promotes the toy, and the toy promotes the game. It's a cycle. They did this in exchange for what I hope was a lot of money, because fuck, that is a lot of games. And the thing is, a lot of these games, matter of fact, were just reskins of the games they had already made, which is very on brand. Numbers-wise, it's impossible to say how much money the video games themselves brought in, but entering 2011, Cepia reports a total of 70 million units, with a collective value of over $2 billion being sold over the first rendition. Whether this is gross or net isn't exactly clear, but that's a lot of money. I am getting a bit ahead of myself though, because there's one more thing that I'm yet to mention that begins to bridge the gap between where they were and why you don't hear from them anymore. So, have you ever heard of the Quest for Zhu? Quest for Zhu was Zhu Zhu theatrical debut because somebody saw this and was like, yeah, I could make a fucking movie out of this. Cepia sunk a $4 million budget into this film with Universal, produced by Moonscoop Group, now defunct, and animated by Dream Garden LLC, bankrupt, and Prana Animation, shut down. Cepia releases the DS game alongside the movie, because of course they do, and ultimately, they feel satisfied enough to work with Universal again on making another film, planned to be entitled The Power of Zhu. Now, this is where things get tricky. Universal is changing up their distribution plan from last time, in hopes of expanding into more regions. Cepia is on board at first, however, after this plan has several changes, Cepia grows gradually more and more displeased with Universal's revisions, leading to Cepia to ultimately reject the final distribution agreement. This leaves the film fully completed, but without an agreement between the two, the film becomes stuck in limbo, thus becoming a piece of lost media. That is until one night, 2012. Select television stations in Brazil and France began broadcasting the movie's very first premiere. A premiere that maybe came to the surprise of the audience, but definitely came more to the surprise of Cepia themselves. They had never signed any final form consenting to the film's distribution, and thus their agreement had been breached. See the issue now? Enter the legal rabbit hole. Cepia takes the situation to court, accusing Universal of going behind their back and illegally distributing this film to these two stations. Cepia alleges that this act alone resulted in estimated $728,679 worth in damages. And also no, I have no idea where that number comes from or why it's so fucking specific. Ultimately, the court finds there's a lack of evidence that proves wrongful action from Universal, and the case is subsequently thrown out. But you didn't think it just stopped there, did you? 2009. Sources are reporting that one of the toys is containing alarming amounts of metal antimony. No recalls were issued after later reports found the issue was not consistent. 2011. Cepia sues Hong Kong-based market site Alibaba for illegitimate use of Cepia trademarks like their packaging to sell counterfeit Zhu Zhu pets. 2012. Cepia is sued by Robert Motz of Floating Light Bulb Toys, alleging that Cepia infringed on his idea of automotive hamsters. This case was subsequently dropped. 2013. Cepia sues Build-A-Bear for infringing their Light Up Bear patent from 2009, as well as a partnership between the two that had gone sour, resulting in a total of $646,000 worth of unpaid Zhu product. This case was settled out of court. By the time the thick of their legal troubles had been cleared, the global interest towards Zhu Zhu pets had faded. 2016, baby, year of the hamster. Cepia is teaming up with Spin Master to create the comeback of the century. Alongside a TV show that's set to hit stations, we're also seeing a set of revamped designs.
Please help me. I am trapped in an everlasting pain from which I desperately cannot escape.
Collectively, we are seeing the framework for a revamp that is only destined for success. Until it wasn't, and it flopped. And alas, that is where Cepia's arc of the story ends. When reading up on everything, I was often brought to these fan and wiki sites, and I realized that they themselves had fostered their own little communities. There's really nothing more to that, I just find that really neat. Speaking of neat, that movie I mentioned earlier, Power of Zhu, lost for 10 years, just re-emerged recently. Just cause. It's funny that in a world where we cycle through fads like chewing gum, that nothing is ever truly forgotten either. Anyway, bye.